Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Endless Celts Podcast. It feels like a long time since we've done a normal podcast, so we've brought it back tonight. We've done two rewinds last week, the Invincible season and also the Seville run. I think combined total hours are about 46. So if you can catch, if you can catch up on them, that would be great. The guys put a lot of effort, especially on the Friday. It was a fantastic show that Willie and the lads put together for the Seville run, and some great memories and a great wee song by one of Ross's family members as well. So it was emotional, fantastic, and a good laugh. But Franny, fresh off the back of it, have you had a good weekend?
I'm anything but fresh off the back of that. That was that was class. No, it was good. It was good to kind of relive that memory. It was a special wee trip that I managed to. Well, the route to Seville, myself personally getting there was a personal nice wee personal touch to kind of look back on. But I loved it. Loved every minute, Stephen.
Aye, it was fantastic. Obviously, I wasn't on, but I had a few wee scoops of the big round, and I had a laugh watching and all them quizzes as well. But Anthony, how's yourself? And also, you've got some exciting news as well. So share it with everybody.
Absolutely, mate. Yeah, just about sobered up for Friday night. We had a good few off air as well. It was a brilliant night. Listen, if you're going to relive the UEFA Cup final run or the run to Seville, then you've got to do it properly. And 4 hours was more than flew by. At least it did for us. I hope it did. It did for all the guys that were watching as well. But yeah, just a little bit of announcement in the family on the transfer front. We're delighted that just got announced at 8:00 there. My nephew Owen has just signed for Bhoys, who won their local. They were the division champions last year, so they're moving into the. I think it's the first division this year, but they've got big plans to try and get going for a double promotion this year. So I hope he'll be a big part of their plans. So just congratulations to him. And if there's anyone local fancies getting down to see our wee Grealish, as we call him, because he likes a wee party as well as having undoubted ability. So if MD's free this season, whenever we're away from home or whatever, get yourself down to Bhoys to Newton Park and watch our own strutty stuff. So we're delighted for him, and hopefully he can kick on again this season.
100%.
That'll be the last you'll be talking about with Stephen, Anna.
That's what I was going to say. Me and Jack Grealish, we don't go hand in hand. But good luck to Owen, and probably a name we're all going to watch out for. Hopefully, further up for the leagues, into the Scottish leagues as well. Paul Dackham's in there. If we can get that comment up, my comments are coming up slow, so I apologise about that. Thought you were going to a Saudi podcast for a minute there, Anthony.
Listen, if it depends what they offered me.
Mate, you're getting good money here, so you're staying put. Jamie comes in. Good morning, 7:33 on a Tuesday morning here in New Zealand. Great to have you along, Jamie. Great to have you. I mean, support from all corners of the world. Greatly appreciate it. And also a shout out as well to our show sponsor, Sharna. That again, 10% off. Link in the description below. Just follow it. We have some exciting, hopefully, a collaboration coming with Sharna shortly. A few wee t-shirts and that we could all get involved with in exciting times. We're on holiday at the moment, so do you know what I mean? Maybe it'll be a bit slow for next week. But just get on to it. You get that discount anyway. But we'll crack on, Franny. And obviously, today was the first official day of pre-season. And I don't know if you've seen it, Franny. Did you see the super fan decorating the Lennox Town with the bunting and pictures and stuff like that? And apparently Rogers invited her in for a cup of tea. But again, it's just the kind of continuation of the good feel factor around Celtic that was there last season. Obviously, appointing Rogers, another top-class manager. Postecoglou's been on the Pastors news at Spurs. But how do you feel in terms of getting into this pre-season?
I'm really excited, obviously, but a lot of that's based on a lot of WhatsApp messages and that seem to be floating about the weekend, and the Twitter sphere has got me excited. But I mean, obviously excited with Rodgers coming in. I think we've all said it's the first time in a wee while that Celtic sort of they've improved. Not that we wanted Ruddy Ange, obviously, but we've improved on Ange, I believe. Certainly on what you can kind of just base what each have sort of achieved in the game, so to speak. But Ange might go on to do fantastic things in the Premiership, and bit of me hopes he does in a way, because I think that long term can look good for Celtic, that teams can maybe up and coming managers will look at Celtic and go, well, look, Ange got a move off it and it proved he was actually a top class manager. So it gives other pathways and stuff. But I'm certainly looking forward to it, Stephen, just with, like I say, we're coming from a position of strength here, and we've appointed a top manager. We seem to have a bit of coin to spend. We'll be potentially getting a lot more coin to spend, and that's not even just for the Jota deal. There's rumours that Frimpong's gone away for selling money, and we're on for a decent pay packet for that. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you.
I
if
can
anyone
hear
else,
you,
put it in the comments if you can hear Franny. But keep going for now. If we're silent, people can lip read. It's fine. I have no idea how to fix it. So
If we don't switch off and switch back on. But looking forward to pre-season. It's a bit of excitement, wee bit of trepidation with the names that are linked to be going away, and we'll get into and stuff. But it's certainly exciting times ahead, I think.
Yeah, no, 100% agree with you. I mean, as I said, the Franny there, Anthony, it's obviously the factor, the feel-good factor continuation from the treble moving in. Obviously, we had that uncertain period when Postecoglou left. Rodgers came in fairly quickly. It was a week and a half, 2 weeks, and then he was announced, obviously, the rumours and stuff. But like that super fan, it's a bit like you outside the Celtic Superstore when a new kit's released, 6 a.m, you're there with the money. Give me it. But how are you feeling? Obviously, new pre-season, new horizons, new adventures to come. Are you excited?
Oh, absolutely, mate. And can't believe it. We clinched our world record date treble on the 3rd of June, and now it's the 3rd of July already, and we're all set to go again. And like as Franny says, it was disappointing to lose Ange. Of course it was, but to replace Ange with a top class manager like Brendan Rodgers, who's a proven winner wherever he goes, and of course he's especially when he's been at Celtic. It's great to get him back in the building. It looks as though very much there's a few different faces around the place, some of them familiar from the time before, and of course we're going to discuss all the rumours, outgoings and incomings as well, potentially throughout this show. But yeah, it's a good, as Franny says, it's a good time to be a Celtic fan. We're the undisputed top team in Scotland, and we're a place where top players are going to want to come ply their trade at the home of the champions and Champions League participants. Just can't wait for the real action to start now. But yeah, it's always good. But first day of pre-season, it just feels like a clean slate and ready to go again.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people panicking on Twitter today that there's been no footage released of Lennoxtown. Like it's all under wraps, it's all secret. But I'm sure that they'll get all that training stuff. And I mean, clubs obviously like to advertise. I'm sure Celtic will do it soon with a big montage or something like that of Brendan Rodgers' first day back in the building. But I mean, I do want to ask in the comments, by the way, because obviously we're doing this. There's lots of rumours going around that Jota has officially signed for Al Ittihad over in Saudi Arabia. So if anyone sees an official confirmation, pop it in the chat and we'll get on to that straight away. We're going to come on to him, obviously, but we'll push it up the topic list and we'll talk about it quicker if it gets confirmed in the next half an hour or so. But I mean, Franny, get into the pre-season. We've signed 2 new players. Also, what went under the radar is he got his old fitness coach back. Glenn Driscoll's back in the building. He's come in today, I believe. He was pictured coming in the car the next time with a super fan and the balloons and that. But that's another good signing because he's been with him probably for all his managing career, Swansea, Liverpool, wherever it may be, Leicester too. So bit of continuity for him as well, and the squad and the fitness sense. But Odin Holm was the first signing that's come in under the Rodgers regime. But I think we can all come to the terms of the fact that it's not that term legacy signing, but it's a new recruitment strategy going forward. It seems like to me, Mark Lawwell, Michael Nicholson are trying to plug the holes that might be left by players who leave. So you look at Odin Holm. Where do you see him fitting in? His interview to me was exciting. He said he's a number 8, number 10. He likes to play with a bit of freedom. Automatically, my spidey senses are saying Rio Hatate. This is a Rio Hatate replacement. But what do you think on that front? And also, I mean, is it a concern that we're signing players again from an old regime, or is it the fact that it's just the recruitment strategy going forward where we put these players in a position, they do well, we make a high profit going forward?
I think I want to believe it's that, Stephen, and I think it is that it's a sort of a continuation of what Ange was doing, where he was tapping into not untapped markets. It's the markets everyone knew. Ange just had better knowledge and a lot of folk of those markets. So it's, although I appreciate Odin what's his name again? Thiago Holm.
Odin Thiago Holm.
It came from Norway, but I believe it's obviously as a signing based from Ange, maybe looking at him beforehand, and Rodgers just came in and probably thought, well, I'll get him. It looks good if you're all happy, Matt Law's happy with it, then bring him in. It's not going to affect his transfer budget too much. It was 2.5 million, so it's not it's not massive with the figure that he's been reported to have at his disposal. So I think it's positive in the sense that the YouTube clubs, he looks a really good player, a boy that can break up play and drive with the ball and like maybe get us 10, 20 yards up the park and things like that. So I think I'm hoping he's not Rio Hatate's replacement. I hope Hatate stays, but I think he could possibly get used if he's, like you say, if he is that sort of a number 10, 8 position. He can maybe fill in the midweek games or after the Champions League, maybe with Hatate. So Hatate's maybe not playing 2-3 games a week. You can maybe keep Hatate for the Champions League games and stuff. So I think it will be about bulking up the squad, so to speak, or maybe off from the off, maybe a wee bit of squad depth and try to maybe add quality to the depth of it and things like that. But I'm not concerned at the fact that it's clearly, for me, it's not a Rodgers signing. I think Rodgers is okayed it right enough, because I think, as I said in the group chat, you've got to be an absolute. I think we all agreed with it. I think you've got to absolutely add it if your first couple of signings, you didn't let Rodgers sort of okay them after the whole fiasco the last time with getting guys in that he never wanted and things like that. So it'd be a silly move if we're going straight off the bat and going back down that route. But I think one of the ideas obviously behind it is to do with, we are looking at the rumours to believe that we're going to be spending silly money in our terms for players. Maybe they're looking at these other ones still, just getting guys in for a couple million, 2-3 million, hoping they perform and they can turn the profit on them as well at maybe 5, 6, 7 million. That will just kind of help with that. It maybe kind of covers you for the guys that you maybe spend bigger money on that you don't make as much profit, or maybe just break even. So I think obviously, yeah, but you do buy players in the hope that they are successful. But I think long term it is just hoping they're successful and you can make money. I think that has got to be your business plan going forward anyway, Stephen.
Yeah, it has to be. It's the money ball. It's the aggressive transfer strategy that Postecoglou actually talked about very early on in his tenure, Anthony. At Celtic is something that we'll have to get used to. And like Franny said, you're hoping these players come in, hit the ground running, attract a bit of interest. And I see a lot of people saying we're wishing players away or we're thinking about transfer fees. But at the end of the day, if Celtic make money, we can invest more. So the quality of player naturally should go up that we're attracting. And one of the things that Odin Thiago Holm, and by the way, the fella changed his middle name to be named after Thiago. That's
a bit of baller, eh?
That's some balls of steel there. Like, if he doesn't live up to any of that, he's getting chucked in the bin. But one of the things that he said about speaking to Rodgers was he was starstruck. He knew about his CV, about the teams he's coached. And do you think that, not no disrespect to Postecoglou, but do you think that's a major factor in players coming to us now? Obviously, the stature of Rodgers, Champions League this season. We've got, as Franny said, with money in the bank that we're led to believe we're going to spend. We're going to come on to that. And a squad full of talent, a squad full of youthful players, and people like Thiago Holm could fit into that. And we're going to come on to Marco Tilio. But first of all, your thoughts on Thiago Holm?
Yeah, I think, like you say, top players will want to work with top managers, and Brendan Rodgers certainly ticks that box, Stephen. And I think that's one of the great things about, obviously, we did have the Champions League carrot to dangle for players, but if we had went down the route of maybe a Neto Knutson or a Maresca, are these guys potentially going to look elsewhere because it's still they're unknown sort of quantities in terms of, managing a massive club, whereas you don't have that issue with a guy like Brendan Rodgers. Brendan himself is an attraction, not just working at Celtic or playing in the Champions League. Working under a manager and being coached by someone like Brendan Rodgers is going to be something that I think a lot of players will quite fancy. Like you say, perhaps Ange couldn't attract the bigger names, but of course he's massive in his own, over in the Asian market, and we were able to attract some top talent for there. So all managers will obviously tap into the markets that they're best, where they know best. But the one thing Rodgers has always said since he's came back, I know, is how the recruitment process has been transformed. So we might well still see players coming from all four corners of the globe, which can only be a good thing. It's for a club that are always trying to look outwards rather than insulate. And it's very exciting. As I say, I'd be lying if I said that I knew too much about the player, but for what I've seen, certainly in the little clips, etc., he certainly looks like
YouTube
a Celtic / Rodgers type of player. I know you're never going to have these guys have their bad moments on YouTube clips, but you can just tell he looks impressive, shall we say? But the proof will be in the pudding, of course. But it's an exciting time, and I do take it as well. Obviously, he's that process would have been well down the line before Rodgers has came in. But we're also, I think, would be silly to think that a guy with the network or the sort of reputation that Brendan Rodgers probably didn't know about him anyway. He'd have probably been well aware of his talents even when he was managing at Leicester, and I think it's the same with Tilio, who have signed for Australia as well. These guys will be aware of these players, and I think it's just been naturally. I think yes, if Brendan had kiboshed it, then that would just be what would have to do. But I think he's looked at what's happened so far. Celtic's recruitment's been second to none the last couple of years. These players have been sort of says, we're right down the way with these two. What do you think? And he's gave it the thumbs up. So whether they are just new players or replacements for outgoings remains to be seen. But definitely the two of them they just look very good.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I've spoke about it before, and I think you did briefly in one of the specials you done, Anthony, and around about the money ball sort of things in football at the moment. One of the things that done it really well coming up through the English League was Brentford. Their recruitment policy took them all over the world. They were signing players from the Spanish second division, French second division, and eventually they got up into the Premier League, and they sold some of them guys on for big profit. And people speak about the Ajax model, Franny, and they look at that. Obviously, that's a different scale. They've been doing that since year that. We're kind of catching up with that, but in essence, as you said, it's the new kind of recruitment model, and someone who falls under, Anthony mentioned him briefly there, is Marco Tilio from Melbourne City. We've broke the A-League transfer record, I believe. I think it's within around 1.8 million, £2 million. Obviously, nothing special in terms of outlay, but from what I've seen of him, he looks very direct. He looks very pacey. He can take players on. He's both-footed. I've seen a clip of him taking the ball literally from the edge of his own box, run up the pitch, and ping one in the top corner just without breaking a sweat. It was an incredible goal. And obviously, you look at the opposition in the A-League. To be fair, probably most of the A-League would pump the SPFL, if we're honest here. And apart from ourselves, apart from ourselves, and maybe Hearts, Aberdeen, and Sevco. But there's some decent teams. You know what I mean? But what do you think he's coming in? For me, anyways, like a Paddy Roberts type player. We all know Rodgers had a really soft spot for him. So do you think he's coming in off the bat, pushing for a starting position?
I think he will. He certainly want players coming in with the attitude that they're going to be pushing for the first team. Whether that's so happens to be the case is only up to the player, and I suppose. But he certainly has got that Paddy. The clips again, you see, he's got that Paddy Roberts feel about him. The goal you're talking about, Stephen, I think if you watch it, not one person challenges him.
Yeah, no, I know, but I mean, they take it from the edge of the box. I would have lost the breath.
Runs a long way off it getting tackled, and I don't think the keeper covers his own glory. But, and again, I'm dubious at getting the A-League because Jason Cummins is the top goal scorer in that league in a single season. I need it that way you want in the quality. But it's. I mean, I know me and Ross kind of had a wee disagreement, but the point of view I was coming at, I don't know much about the A-League, which kind of could go against my argument with this title, but if you try and... Did he though? Did Tom Rockets come from the A-League?
He came from the Nike Academy.
The Nike Academy.
Nike Academy, but he played previously in the A-League, and then he went on loan from us to the A-League.
I hope the guy is a great player, because it's only benefits Celtic. It's just the clips I have seen, I mean, as I say, he is very direct, he's tricky, looks like he's got a good touch, good for flexing tricks, but it's just when you try and assess how quality the league might be with his commentary and things, and like I say, Jason Cummins went there and has got a massive move to the Indian league off it.
Big dollar bills, yo. Big dollar bills.
It probably is getting big dollar bills. But then some folk could then argue against that and go, Jason Cummins end up going to the World Cup to go to Australia. So there's arguments both sides. I mean, I will get excited when I first see him on the park. It's one of them. I'm weirdly more excited by Thiago Holm, and I've know nothing about both of them. It's strange. It's just the way I'm I can't. There's no rhyme or logic why I'm favouring one over the other when I know hee-haw about the both of them, Stephen.
No, 100% get what you're saying. I do. I mean, Patrick McLaughlin, Anthony, is really confident here that Tilio should tear up the league. I think for Melbourne City, he had something like 20 goal contributions, 10 goals, and the same amount of assists over a course of the season, which is a good return. Thiago Holm, he played for Vålerenga and he got his breakthrough at 16 years old, and he played over 100 games in the top league in Norway. So you look at that, we had Christopher Ayer from the Norway League, we had Stefan Johansson. So we kind of got a decent track record there. But on that, Tilio, Anthony, Franny's wee bit on the fence there. A-League, Jason Cummins, I get where he's coming from, but what do you think about this signing?
Yeah, well, again, I think it was Alice that says it looks potentially like a Paddy Roberts Mark II. Listen, I'll be all for that because, as you all know, I was a massive Paddy Roberts fan. Just bag of tricks, but effective with it as well. So yeah, like the rest of these, I'd be lying if I said I've seen too much of him in action. But I think all Celtic fans, we love that type of player, type of guy that'll, beat a few and get crosses in, or good dribbles and things like that, and effectively he's crossing and shooting. So if he's does half as good his job as Paddy Roberts did, I'll be a happy man. Money well spent.
Yeah, money well spent. And you actually made a great point. I mean, no naffed about these players, but when you naffed about Atate, Kyogo, Dyson, do you know what I mean? So but we don't know what we're getting now. It's the whole recruitment model's changed, and Roger said himself it's world class at the moment. But we'll move on to a potential outgoing. Anthony, and I'll come to you first here. Started gathering pace literally about 3 or 4 days ago. Al Ittihad, obviously there was rumours of Rio Atate going there. That's still apparently could be the case. Nuno Espirito Santo is the manager there. He knows Jota really well apparently. He's had to keep tabs on him for a few years in his playing career. We look at Felipe Jota at us, Anthony, and it's a two-pronged question. Obviously, Saudi Arabia, what's the kind of consequence of this for European football? But we'll come on to that. Do you, first of all, the rumoured deal, 28 million euros with 5 million add-ons, taking up to over 30 million pounds. Jota getting 192 grand tax-free cash per week. What do you think, Anthony? Give me it, because I feel like you have an opinion on this. It's going to be like, both.
No, like you say, it's a two-pronged one. First of all, Jota's been absolutely magnificent for 2 seasons at Celtic, and he's had a great rapport with the fans. He's delivered on the pitch. He's delivered off the pitch as well, with, obviously the photos in the brazen head and things like that. He's one of the players that, doesn't come from a Celtic background, but got the club almost like the minute he joined it, kind of like in the similar sort of stance that Mikael Lustig and players like that sort of did as well. They just get a real affinity for the club pretty much from day one. And the fact that he was the entertainer and that he always seemed to be good for a goal against Rangers always just endeared us to him even more. But yeah, so it's a disappointment he's going to Saudi Arabia. It was a disappointment he's leaving Celtic, and it looks like it's going to be Saudi Arabia he's going to. I had kind of braced myself for him potentially leaving this summer anyway, but it's Saudi Arabia he's going to, so it's clearly no for footballing reasons. And then I really hope if and when it does become official that he doesn't go down that route, because it's his decision to make. But it's a bit like when Ryan Christie went to Bournemouth and then claimed that he'd been a Bournemouth fan all his life. It's just, there's just times when you're like, you're just extracting the urine just a wee bit too much there, pal. It's obviously his decision to make, but where I'm disappointed with him going to Saudi is the thing is at the moment, and I know we're going to get on it in a minute, but this is going to be a thing that's going to continue for quite some time, I think, where players are going to be given that kind of decision to make. Of course, we've seen Cristiano Ronaldo go there. I think who's the central midfielder for Chelsea, Kante, that's the one.
Kante,
He's went
Benzema.
as well. Obviously, Benzema seems to have went there as well. And listen, it's obviously these guys' decision to make. And the thing is, where it's most disappointing is these guys have been there and done it all. They've achieved pretty much all they can in the game at a European level, which, regardless of what anyone says, is that's the hotbed, the headquarters of proper competitive football. And I think what's disappointing for me is Jota's got all the talent in the world, natural talent, to not only he could have done another year at Celtic and, he would have should have done the business for us, no doubt, but if he had went, he would have had, I believe, a whole host of offers where he could have really progressed his career and achieved. He says he's often documented saying his hero's Cristiano Ronaldo, obviously the Portuguese connection, and rightly so. But Cristiano didn't go there until he'd achieved everything in Europe. He's went there, for one last payday, and that's his prerogative. But Jota's he's not really made that kind of name for himself yet, and you just kind of think, it's a bit of a disappointment for him, because he's essentially going into semi-retirement at the age of 24. I know people will maybe say, oh, well, he could go there for a couple of years and then, come back to Europe. But let's be honest, even if he goes over there and does incredible and catapults this side to, 2 championships in a row or whatever, nobody in Europe's going to bat an eyelid at it. They'll still look at it through the prism of a young guy who's picked the money. So, but listen, it says to me, I'm not going to join in the thing where, that he's the more kind of political sides of it, of him. Imagine going there and things like that. It's a region of the world where every Western government does business with, whether we like it or not. I don't, of course, disagree with us that their record on human rights, etc. But it's that's not Jota's fault. That's a far wider thing that we're not going to be able to address or solve on a football show. But I'll be gutted to see him go. It's tinged with disappointment for him, if nothing else. I'm sure he'll not be too bothered when he's picking up that kind of money, like you say, Stephen. But I just think what could have been. But listen, I'm sure he'll enjoy spending it.
I mean, we are going to come on, obviously, to the repercussions for football, Anthony. And I mean, obviously, after Australia this as well. But just to kind of give you a breakdown, I seen a tweet today. I have up my phone here. Jota started 83 games. Well, he played 83 games, started 69, scored 28, assisted 29, Franny. And that form is just gone up. I mean, he finished last season on fire. And like Anthony said, like for me, top 5 leagues in Europe, he could fit in, no problem.
Yeah.
Easy. I mean, Bundesliga, the Liga, Serie A, whatever, EPL. I was half expecting Postecoglou to come back in for him, for Spurs, because I think, to my opinion, he's better than, who's it, Kulcheski on the left-hand side they have?
Kulusevski.
Yeah, that person, you know who I'm talking about. They signed him for like £30 million after a loan deal. So it's like, for me, I could see it, right? 192, I mean, grand a week, could set your family up for life. But like Anthony said, he's young and ambitious, and he always speaks about it. He loves winning trophies. He loves getting involved with the fans. And I mean, the brazen head photos, the celebrations against Rangers, telling stories, literally bang into the club and every value at its core. And the supporters, we all love him. Let's be honest here. But from your point of view, if you're Jota and Al Ittihad, obviously the revolution in Saudi Arabia at the minute with the football, I mean, they've attracted Benzema and N'Golo Kante, Cristiano Ronaldo, numerous Brozovic, I think, is going over there as well, the Croatian midfielder. So there's tons of international talent going, but my opinion on that is they're towards the latter end of their career. And Jota's going over there, not even entering into his prime years. So what would you do in that situation? Could you turn down that money? Is it purely money here, or is it just literally he's seeing Benzema, he's seeing Kante and the team he could join and being like he could learn off them, and maybe in 2 or 3 years, even though Anthony said, in my opinion as well, a European club wouldn't really give a shit, to be honest. But do you think that's where he's coming from, playing with them types, or is it purely money motivated?
Oh, it's totally money. Totally money. I mean, I think he's reported on 20, 30 grand at Celtic. I think you'd be questioning his sanity if he turned in 192 grand a week to stay at Celtic. As much as I'd have loved it, I just think it's... there's go Ruben Neves away there as well. I mean, I think he'll argue the case that Benzema and Kante's at the team that he's reported to be joining. So there will be that experience that he will be able to learn from them. How much? But for me, it's a no-brainer for Celtic. A guy that we essentially bought permanently a season ago for $6.5 million. We're selling now for 25 guaranteed. If the figures are what have been reported, it's round about just under 26 million, I think, up front with 5 million add-ons and 10%. It's an absolute no-brainer for Celtic. And then the wages he's getting offered, absolute no-brainer for him. Definitely not a footballing decision. Not a chance. You'll not make that argument that it's a football decision. He will, which he's obviously got to do. He'll not be able to go over there and say that he's only here for the money. Everybody knows he's here for the money. By the way, he's just got a job there as a manager as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Madness.
a step up for him, to be fair.
Aye, I know. They're all, but I do agree that he obviously is young enough that he can come back to Europe, but he's not going to get the kind of move. Unlike Anthony, it was one of the, as much as I think Callum McGregor aside, I think Jota is our best player. But it was something about I just didn't see him going. Maybe that was something to do with Rodgers coming in, that you've also got a high profile manager to be able to talk him around it. Obviously, you've seen the way kind of got to sell what you were just saying there, Stephen, involved in with Celtic outside and inside the club. I wasn't expecting him to be here 5, 6, 7 years.
No.
I thought another year. Well, I thought we'd have definitely got another season out of him. But it's maybe just due to simply the Saudi money that's come in. He's thought, well, I can't. Like, that's not just setting up this family. That's setting up generations for him. That's setting up generations for a lifetime. That kind of money. It's silly money, but I don't believe that Saudi League could. I mean, it's got to take some effort for it to absolutely kick off in the next 2-3 seasons for it to come seriously credible. But in a parallel universe where somehow it does manage to attract a lot more of the top players in their prime and get a bit of respect in the league, it potentially could come back and go to a bigger team in Europe. But I don't think, what's he say, potentially going for a 5-year contract. Even if he does stay there for the 5 year, even within 5 year, I don't think the league's going to get. I don't think the league's going to get big enough where it'll get enough credit in the bank that teams in Europe, your Bayern Munich, your Real Madrid, your Barcelona are going over there and going, I mean, I don't even think. I mean, with your Brightons and that, maybe if they kind of keep in the trajectory they're on, where they're competing at the top sort of half of the APL, would they even sort of come in? Your Leipzigs, I don't think they'll come in. I think it'll be your lower half teams in the top leagues that will come in from. So career-wise, it's not career suicide. It's obviously not, but it's not a great move from career-wise. It's total money rate out. By the way, it'll be probably at Carvo's team in January.
Very possible.
So I don't think it's 100% money. Nobody will convince me otherwise. Jota will not convince me otherwise. He'll say it's football reasons because he's got to play with guys like Benzema and Kante. There might be another couple of superstars. Well, superstars of the Ronaldo age and the Benzema age and the Kante age that come in that have achieved everything, like Anthony said, in the game, might come in and play for him. But I think he's not going to have the career I think he probably would have had he stuck around for another season or picked a team in Europe. But maybe the Spanish league, obviously, it wasn't that great. Was it Valladolid?
Yeah.
Before he came, it wasn't actually that great. But by the way,
I think the team got relegated.
Definitely hinder his international chances. I mean, folk will argue that Ronaldo's in it, but Ronaldo's in on what he can do, and we know what Ronaldo can do. He doesn't need to be performing week in, week out. But I think it's proper. It's proper got to hinder his career. But after 10 million a season, so 50 million. I don't think he'll be caring after that. I'll be honest.
I mean, there's a club in Saudi Arabia that offered a 46-year-old Gianluigi Buffon
50 million
90 million. Was it 15 million? That's crazy.
I know.
That's mental. Do you know what I mean? But again, it's attracting attracting them types of superstars. But I mean, Anthony, looking at this from a wider sense, right? Jota aside here, there's a lot of things in regards to Ted Bowley and Chelsea. They sold like 3 or 4 players to a Saudi club. That looks like they're trying to cover up FFP and get back profit and get back money into the club after they outlaid hundreds of millions of pounds under him when he first came in. You look at Newcastle, like Corvo said, they've got links to this Saudi investment group. Is this a ploy to sign players for the Saudi League and then loan them to the top English clubs or the top Spanish clubs, whoever these Saudi oligarchs or princes have funds in or shares in? Can you see something like that happening? Maybe it's like a, not collusion, but maybe it's to get round the FFP type of thing. And then you look at as Franny said, like they've done the golf, they've done what else have they done?
They're trying to buy
tennis as well, yeah. And they've bought the majority of the best football clubs in the world. So they're really trying to make an imprint in Europe and also in their own nation. So, and they're also trying to host the World Cup, I believe, in years to come. So maybe the infrastructure behind that, the teams are trying to get better. They're trying to improve the Saudi national team. What's your overall take on it? Obviously, Ruben Neves, Felipe Jota, probably the youngest of the core players they've attracted so far. But can you see what Franny said? And you even alluded to yourself, it's not going to stop. Do you think this is going to continue until they have the best players available?
Yeah, but I think perhaps in terms of the best players available, I don't foresee the Saudi Arabian Premier League ever being able to compete with, you know, the top 5 in Europe, shall we say, like the Spanish leagues or Germans or England, purely in terms of the quality of player. I still think it will be a sort of semi-retirement home in terms of, I mean, you look at the money that some of these players that leave Europe and go to America, still on massive, contracts, but it doesn't really increase I mean, Lionel Messi is one of the one-off, if not the greatest player ever. Yeah. I'm not going to tune in to watch him play in America. It's not for me. And I think it'll be very much the same with Saudi. There have been people that sort of thought it's just going to be like China. It's going to kind of fizzle out, as quickly as it started. I don't see it quite the same with Saudi Arabia. I can't proclaim to be an expert on it, but when you're not, it's a good idea to listen to people that are. And when you listen to the way that the financial models are going to work with it, there might be that sort of collusion that you were speaking about, Stephen. I don't know if it's necessarily to loan players back, but it's definitely perhaps to offload and get round FFP rules. There's no doubt in my mind that will definitely be a part of it. But I think what you will continue to see, and I suppose there is a sort of, I do find it quite amusing, similar to yourself at times when we're getting all the sort of pundits that primarily follow the Premier League saying how awful this is for football. Yes. Oh, it's absolutely disgraceful. They're ruining the makeup of football and the natural ecosystem. And you're like, well, hang on a minute. This is exactly what you did with Sky TV 30 years ago. It's just on a more globalised and probably more political scale. It's just that's the way the world is. I don't like it. But it wasn't a Scottish football club that was, or Spanish boys or anyone in the French leagues or that. Well, I suppose you can now with PSG, but we've allowed this to happen. Not anyone else. And by the same point, it's not the right of Europeans to decide how other teams market their leagues. Saudi Arabia is a wealthy nation, and they want to, it is sports washing. There's no other way to describe it, but this is their way of gaining influence in the world and, legitimising their regimes. It's not particularly the way I would like the world to go, but there's not really much you can do about it. At the end of the day, the world is the way it is. We want a globalised market, and this is one of the potential consequences of globalisation. And I still think it's going to happen more and more. I think you will see, without question, you'll see some sort of major tournament over there, be it a World Cup. It wouldn't surprise me. UEFA claim to be the defenders of real football fans and all this, when the Super League was getting the idea was getting bandied about. Don't be surprised if you see a potential Champions League final over there. 100%. Don't be surprised if you see English, big English. It was obviously got like Newcastle, the 19th game getting played over there. this is the way that they want it to go. It's one of the many reasons why I don't want Celtic to touch any of it with a barge pole in terms of moving down south or anything like that. I agree.
Like, see if you can. Like, I know you're on a roller, but see what Paul said. How would you feel if a Saudi consortium wanted to invest in Celtic? Obviously, along the lines that you're speaking, would that sit comfortable with you?
No, it wouldn't. But then again, I wouldn't feel, and I don't mean that to. I think initially when you say something like that, it can maybe come across as a bit xenophobic. I wouldn't be very happy about the kind of, what do they call it, leverage buyout thing, that the way the Americans tend to do it either. I don't like these kind of. If something looks or sounds too good to be true, it normally is, Stephen. And you know that these people wouldn't be investing for purely football reasons. It would be to try to legitimise things that I would argue go very much against our founding principles and principles I hope that most of us try and continue to this day. But I'm also a bit of a realist. I know that money talks, and, were that to happen, I don't know how much realistically the ordinary punter could do about it. But yeah, I definitely don't like the idea of and I know the world's changed a lot, but it's not changed that much. There's still, poverty and deprivation all around, and a club that was literally founded to feed the poor, being bankrolled by some, snake oil salesman. It wouldn't sit right with me personally. But I know that there's a lot of fans that, if it gives us a chance to beat Real Madrid in the Champions League final, would be all for it. But that's the thing of being a big football club. I suppose we don't all speak. We don't. It's for a broad church.
I mean, to be fair, it's like the romance, isn't it? And then the dreams. The romance is sticking to the values, and then the dreams are trying to move on and push forward with more money. I totally get what you're saying, Anthony. But in regards to what Anthony said, Franny, I mean, you kind of touched upon it, but the Saudi Arabian machine, let's be fair, it's an absolute machine. The Man City, PSG, all sorts of feeder clubs and clubs throughout the world. I mean, and it's I know PSG or Qatar. Forgive me that one, but they're literally owned by Qatar, which is madness. Like, a state owns a club.
Aye.
But do you see this gathering pace? I mean, the whole golf thing got put to bed, didn't it? I think they basically took over golf now, and they've all kind of had the fold, haven't they? From what I can see, anyway. But
I think so.
the live, is it live or something?
Live
that it was
golf,
called.
aye, that's still there.
I live golf, and I mean that the bank ruled that they're paying golfers millions of pounds, and you see all these players going, and yeah, they're as Anthony said, I totally agree. There's going to be probably a Champions League final there. They're probably going to want to play a Manchester derby over there, or try and move all these world class games, a Classico over there as well. So where do you see the end game for this? Do you see it? And again, by the way, see EPL, anything to burst that bubble, I'm strapped in. I'm ready for the ride, by the way. Because see the hypocritical nature of Gary Neville, of Simon Jordan, of whoever it may be. All I can say is, see this wee orange here, take it and shove it up your arse, because you've done it, and no one else could say anything because it was English football. But now Saudi Arabia are just going, I'll take him. Gary Neville wants a transfer embargo against him. Do one. Are you winding me up? Are you so, like, if an English club comes in for a Celtic player, or two or three of them, no, there has to be a transfer embargo against you. That's not how the world works, mate. So I mean, it's fantastic that these English pundits are absolutely crapping their pants at the thought of Saudi Arabia, their football, whatever, getting better. But that's me. That's my own selfish agenda. I just hate them down south. But where do you stand on it in terms of the end game for the Saudi machine?
I think the end game will be for to have a legit, respected league. I don't think it's. I mean, they'll claim they want to be the biggest league in world football, but I mean, for that to be the end game, that's not going to happen in 5-10 years' time. That's going to take years and years just pumping money into it, because they're miles. Everybody's miles behind the EPL because of the power of Mighty Sky. I mean, I'm used. I would love nothing better for that to just crash and burn tomorrow. It's not going to happen. Sky are too invested in it. Sky would need to crash and burn before the EPL crashes and burns. El Clasico will go there, because El Clasico already plays. I'm sure they've had a game in America already.
Yeah,
legitimate
Jed
game.
Thomas just confirmed, and where's that? Riyadh?
So they've had games over. I think it was in Dubai, but certainly in the Middle East, and I think it was a legitimate game. It was a competitive game they had over there.
Was it not the Super Cup final, like the Spanish Super Cup?
I think so.
Yeah, that's
or something like that. Yeah,
It was a competitive game, Anthony. I don't see at this stage. I don't see the EPL doing it because they've already knocked back America and things like that for trying to do it. But for me, I think the end game with Saudi Arabia, I think it's to have a proper competitive, legitimate league against what is deemed as the top 5 leagues in Europe now. I'm totally on board with Anthony. I think there will be a Champions League final there at some point.
Yep.
UEFA will take the money. Let's be honest, they'll take the money. They try to kibosh the Super League and then just conveniently change the rules of the Champions League and how many teams are in it. And it's essentially a glorified. It's a Super League with it being called the Super League, the Champions League, innit? But UEFA have got control of it and no your Juventuses and Real Madrids. But I think it's got to happen. They've got to try and take over. They've bought golf. They're trying to buy tennis. They'll probably get boxing. There's silly money involved in that.
What do you call the rowing? Olympic rowing? They'll be banned the Olympic rowing teams and all. Like,
just buying. I mean, I'm like Anthony as well. I'm saying I'm like Anthony. I would love if the question was ever asked where Saudi investors come in and that. I would love to say no, but I've said it plenty of times. You can cut off as much fingers as you want. I'm going for the glory. I would love to go with my heart and morals and stuff like that. But
that's the dilemma.
But let's be honest, football's no morals. Football hasn't got morals. So why fans can pretend to have it, but again, I think it's not going to happen. I don't see a Saudi folk coming in for us because it's what's that? They'll get a World Cup. I mean, we've already had one over there. Just the last World Cup was over in the Middle East, so they'll get one over there. But I would take the Saudi money. They've definitely destroyed the heavyweight boxing. But I would take the Saudi money if somebody came in and invested that. It would, as I say, morals for me would go out the window to an extent, and that I get a heritage and all that, but I would be like, well, there's a chance we could win the Champions League. Whether we're doing it organically, probably not, because it's just money pumped in. Absolute silly money just get pumped in. But I would love the ride. I would love it. But going back to Gary Neville, I thought it was interesting. I'd not to have a wee go at Corvo's team, but it's interesting that Gary Neville's quiet the day they signed an Italian internationalist for about 60 million. Didn't you see Gary Neville tweeting about the Saudi money then?
He only picks and chooses, mate, doesn't he? Gary types up when it's against English football. But again, like you said, they're romantic city. Like Anfield wants to stick to the core values of the club. Then you're dreaming, can that 100 million, 200 million win the Champions League? But again, that's probably a debate for another day. It looks like Felipe Ayala's all but confirmed to be going to Al Ittihad. Again, anyone get confirmation of that, put it in the comments and react to it, even though we already did, but we'll just do it again for a laugh. I mean, we go for 4 hours in this podcast, and it's all good. But we'll move on, Anthony, and we'll talk about a few more individuals in the team. Obviously, there's rumours about Rio Hatate going to Al Ittihad as well. That was last week. Kyogo is a wee bit coy on his future, to be expected. Maybe he's looking for one big move. And then Matt O'Reilly and also Lee Abada have been linked moves away. Is this going to turn into a summer? I mean, we all didn't believe it would happen, but if you see Kyogo leave, Hatate leave, O'Reilly go, Abada and Jota, is it a wee bit of a rebuild going on here? Can you see that happening?
Very possibly, and I think even before he departed for Tottenham, and even just the way that you could see that the thing, the whole transfer system tends to work now. I think if you get any more than 2 years out of a player now, you really are starting to see them more as a long-term thing. I think 2 years will be the maximum about with certain players now, and especially if they're doing well, they're going to get noticed. Not only have you got the European clubs that will potentially want to sign them for their means, but you do have the Saudi factor now there as well. So listen, in an ideal world, you certainly don't want to be replacing an entire team, but everyone's got a price, and if there's a potential deal to be done for Celtic, which can, add to Brendan's transfer kitty. If there's, put it this way, if all those players are going, they're all going for decent money because they're all on long-term contracts, or certainly most of them are. If there's Brendan Rodgers is the type of manager that you'd want to have money available to, because, as I say, he's a proven manager. Good players will want to come and work with him. So if there's going to be a rebuild, at least it's going to be well financed.
Well, that's true. I mean, but again, to go back to you, would it be hard to replace Alexa Rio, or do you look at like Odin Holm as coming in for him, and you look at maybe Matt O'Reilly, Marco Tilio can play that position? So as it come back to what we said at the start, the board are actually future planning this squad in case the eventualities do happen and these top players leave?
Yeah, very possibly. But that in itself is quite a good thing, because we got caught out with that so many times in years gone by, even Brendan's first season, and then certainly into Lenny's second tenure. It was sort of, if we lose player X, then we're on a crisis. Whereas it seems to be at the moment we're now preparing. We're preparing from a position of strength that if these guys go, there's replacements there ready to come in. And like you say, they might not all work out, but it's a lot more cyclical, and the thinking of the recruitment process seems to be a lot more joined up now. Came straight for the horse's mouth last week at his unveiling, where Brendan, I think, it called the process between when he was here last and now is night and day. So yeah, it's probably, people at the club have known that there's potentially going to be suitors for a lot of your top players for months now, even, and obviously the Ange Postecoglou himself. So I think the likes of Matt Lawwell and the rest of the recruitment team all have been working diligently behind the scenes to make sure that if those offers do come in, that A, we get top money for them, but B, there's already replacements lined up to come in. So it's a wheel that never stops spinning, Stephen, and hopefully it's going to be a lot better now than what it was in previous years.
Yeah, 100%. I have full trust in Mark Lowe at the moment. Paul, that if we lose Jota, Hatate and Abada, then Rodgers has a few rabbits to pull out of the hat, 100%. But just while we're on air, Franny, Lyle Thomas, a Sky Sports presenter or journalist, has tweeted, Sporting Lisbon are interested in Celtic winger Lyle Abada. They consider him, especially if they lose Marcus Edwards this summer. Ajax also interested. The 21-year-old has 28 goals and 20 assists for Celtic in his time there. So again, there's confirmed interest in Lyle Abada. Can you see this being a summer, not of transition, but like Paul said there, Rodgers needs to get the recruitment right if we lose these types of players?
Oh, it definitely does, because we know what these players can do. Like Jota, I think will be a massive loss. I think he'll be hard to replace. He's a top player. His numbers back it up. Hatate, again, I think he was key. I don't. It's got to sound silly, but we might not notice him so much because if Rodgers goes back to playing that 4-2-3-1 type formation, you've got that extra guy in the middle of the park, so you may not miss or notice Hatate not being there so much. I mean, I'll prefer him to stay. I really think he's a top player, but I think he might be able to shoulder the burden of that a wee bit easier than a Jota, who is kind of out the wide to sell. Abada is a strange one because again, speaking of numbers, his numbers are flipping brilliant.
Yeah.
And to try and guarantee them, it's silly money to try and guarantee their numbers. But then he's not regular. It wasn't a regular. But was that down to the fact that it reportedly knocked back a few contracts and stuff? So was maybe Ange just playing hardball with him? If we were I kind of agree with you. Like Jota looks all but done. It's just a matter of time. I think we'll definitely lose another one, like another key player. Abada would consider as a key player. I know I said I think you might not notice Hatate as much as Abada, but I would, if it's one of the two, I would rather lose Abada, as silly as that sounds. So as that sounds, when you consider his numbers, the guy's numbers for still only 21?
21, yeah.
So, but again, if Sporting Lisbon or Ajax come calling and the money's right, you can't begrudge the guy. He's not a Celtic fan. It's one of them.
Football to me, like you both said there, you get 2 years out of them, maybe 3, and then they're flying the nest. It's something I have to get used to in terms of, again, the aggressive transfer model. And Anthony, a lot of WhatsApp rumours going about, a lot of tweets going about. Now, Celtic are rumoured to be breaking their own transfer record with what was it again? 26 million pound swap for Scott McTominay from Manchester United. And if I get this right, Fabian Rieder from Young Boys in Switzerland. He also scored against United in the Europa League, I believe. And from the clips I've seen of him, he looks a fantastic player. There's also talk of Fraser Foster coming back on loan. And Duke from Aberdeen is apparently under consideration, which I don't mind. I like Duke. That's no problem to me. But let's get this straight. In your opinion, are Celtic going to be spending £26 million on 2 players?
Well, in normal times, it would sound would be extremely far fetched, Stephen. But when you're selling Boys for potentially 30 million quid, and obviously you mentioned there might be a few others that could potentially go as well. But also on top of the fact that Brendan's already had some funds allocated to him, regardless of player sales, it's not as far fetched as it sounds. And obviously, his press conference unveiling, he spoke about how his look for Celtic, one of the things he wanted to add to his team for us going forward this year for domestic land in Europe was power. That was the main attribute he was looking for. And those guys do tend to tick the boxes. I think it's clear. I mean, I like Scott McTominay. Obviously, I've got a wee soft spot for Man United, and obviously he's doing great things with the national side at the minute as well. But it doesn't look like Ten Hag sees him as as part of his plans for his rebuild at United. And I think it's a move that ticks a lot of boxes, and I think he could really thrive under the likes of a Brendan Rodgers sort of setup. So there's one potential midfield replacement done. I have to say, the boy who were potentially smashing the Scottish transfer record for looks, but I've only seen clips, but again,
he looks incredible.
Yeah,
looks an absolute baller.
I have to say, what a statement it would be from Celtic if with all the talk. I mean, the bravado coming from across the river at the moment is absolutely laughable. I would be embarrassed if being a Celtic fan, if I was getting excited about loan signings and saying what we're going to be doing and how the gap's closed when all 3 trophies are sitting in our resting in our trophy room. We've got millions in the bank, and we've got a top class manager about to take on a guy who's managed QPR 30 times. It's it's you can. I've only ever seen that type of bravado in some of the local bars in Falthouse when there's the local wall puncher tries to take on the cage fighter with a few babies in him. You know what I mean? It's really funny. But but at least said about me the better, to be fair. I just find it incredible. But definitely, I mean, obviously the mainstream media in Scotland, they've been doing their classic Jim from American Pie moment. Anytime Rangers sign some guys, anytime Rangers are signing a guy and making up absolute nonsense that they're getting signing on fees for a player they don't own. That is the level of journalism you have to face on a daily basis. So, but suddenly apparently hiring a top class manager's not the best. But listen, all those signings that you mentioned, I would be on board with. Absolutely, I think they would transform the team. Like you said, that Duke at Aberdeen, I think he's the best, probably one of the best players out with Celtic in the Scottish League last season. Mm-hmm. And it's something that we do tend to do, try and pick the best of the talent for the SPL, as certainly Brendan did. But, thanks, Paul. It's those big money signings, but what a statement it would be if we broke the Scottish transfer record 2 weeks after Brendan returned. As a lot of the guys are saying, it's still a bit far-fetched at the moment, and it's more it's more of the Twitter sphere than, the yellow rolling bar on Sky Sports News. But listen, at this moment in time, I think anything's possible, mate. And as Brendan says, Celtic's a club that allows you to dream. And if we're splashing that kind of cash, could be in for another memorable season.
You spoke there about bravado from the team across the river. I seen a video yesterday of Michael Bailey showing their new signing, the cloakroom, and go through all the old kits, and the new signing was just going.
And that's last season's PE kit, just with a transferable sticker on it, and that's for the year before.
There was at one point he said,
"That's Jimmy Bell."
I swear to you, there was one point he was at this reel of kits, and he goes, these were all worn by class players, and he said Ali McCoyson. Your man had no idea. He was just going, I mean,
self-awareness is seldom their strong point, mate.
They get shown cloakrooms, and we get shown trophies, as you said, Anthony. The boardroom, the trophy cabinet, that's where it's at. And Franny, coming to you, we eat rumours for breakfast. We love the rumours. We start the rumours. I mean, I'm sure we've created lots of them on Twitter, but where do you stand? And obviously, Fabian Reeder looks an absolute machine. He looks the full package if we could ever get one. Scott McTominay, a player that he's been linked a few times on loan. I think when Lenny was there, he was linked very early on, and I think he was even linked to Sevco at one point as well. But again, another good midfield player, plenty of legs, strength, robust. Roger said he wanted to put more steel in the midfield, a bit more tall players, athletic, so maybe he fits the bill. Obviously, there was rumours of Ndidi on a free, but I can't see that happening. I think Daniel Armade is away to a Serie A club, so that's out the window. Can you see these rumours come to fruition? I know we've seen a lot of this when Postecoglou was leaving, and to be fair, some of them were quite accurate. I'm not going to deny that. Some of them had it nailed on very early on that he was leaving. But again, I could pin enough shit against the wall, and sometimes it sticks. I do that quite a lot anyway. So in terms of these rumours, the transfer fees, even the players out with the big ones like Fraser Foster, Duke, like I said to Anthony, can you see any of it happening?
I mean, Fraser Foster was brilliant, but what I will say, where do you stand in Fraser Foster firstly, Stephen?
No.
Potentially Fraser. Right. I'm glad you said that, because I was waiting on you making an argument for getting rid of a 35-year-old Joe Hart for a 34-year-old Fraser Foster.
Yeah, no. Wouldn't have him about me no more. Would not have him about me.
Nah, I agree. I don't want Fraser Foster back. I think he led us up the garden path a wee bit as well.
Yep.
But I would rather us keep Joe Hart for a season and get a younger goalkeeper in that's fairly established but knows he's coming in to essentially get his chance, but he'll play in the main second fiddle, and essentially being a sort of a swan song for Joe Hart in his final year of his contract. Just see it out, go out in a high and stuff, but at the same time coaching a younger, maybe somebody 24, 25-year-old. Abarkas is actually a good keeper. Like that dives. Somebody that's actually a good keeper, but of 26, 27-year-olds. So for me, I mean, I've said I would go for him. John's man. I would go for him, the Croatian boy.
John loves him. John loves this guy.
Heart, but I mean, obviously, if Fraser Foster comes in, I'll be praising him at the hill, because he'll do a job for us. Let's be honest, the boy will do a job for us. But for me, that one doesn't make sense. Tierney, I hope that turns off. But
we're going to get to that.
All right, sorry, right. Well, McTominay, I'd take him in a heartbeat, and like you said, Rodgers is saying how he wants some power in the midfield and stuff, and that's what he wanted last time. So I can understand the comparisons to McTominay, how that can kind of make some sense. So that's how I think maybe you can put the McTominay. The only one with McTominay that it doesn't add up for me is the 11 million. I think he would cost. I hope I'm wrong, but I would think McTominay costs a wee bit more than that, because I thought Newcastle were in for him in January for about 30-35 million. But I could be wrong. I hope.
In that case, the rumours are shit.
Honestly, like I hope they're right, because I think McTominay would be a fantastic sign. I think he's a top player. There's rumours he's a Celtic fan. He's apparently really good at pals with Callum McGregor. Again, rumours, Stephen, and I'm just putting two and two together and coming up.
You're making me
75.
excited. You're making me give me more. Give me more.
75. But I would hope McTominay comes in. I would take that. The boy Reader, he, like I say, I've watched a fair few clips of him. He is an absolute baller, absolute superstar. Like, honestly, he's brilliant. So I'd be really excited. Like Anthony said, it'd be a massive statement of intent if you go and first full week in the job, essentially, and you go and whacked in 25 million, 26 million in 2 players. It would be a massive, massive statement. I've also seen rumours that we're maybe going to spend 10 million on a guy, Carlos Borges, for Man City, right winger.
Yeah.
And again, know nothing about him, stats, but stats are up there with Abada. So
I think he got 30 goals in the
last
PL2.
Yeah,
mental.
It's all very exciting. These names that are getting bandied about. Then we'll maybe get Malumbu.
No, please.
It's exciting. The names are exciting. Hopefully we can pull them off. I mean, if we pull them all off, great. If we can pull some of them off, amazing. I mean, one left field shout I would go for is Billy Gilmore.
No, too much players like him.
I'd go for him in a heartbeat.
I get what you're saying. I think he's an excellent player, but I think you have Calmac there, you have O'Reilly there, you've Rio at the minute, you have Odin, Thiago Holm as well.
If your Hatatis or O'Reilly's go, I'd go for Gilmore in a heartbeat.
Oh, here, I'm with you. I think he's a cracking player, but I mean, at this moment in time, maybe a bit too stacked in there for them type of ball playing midfielders. We need a more Scott McTominay, Wilfred.
Somebody I know nothing about. I want him.
Aye, we need him. We know about McTominay, to be fair, but I mean, if like as you said, if these rumours are true, I think that the rest of the SPFL might as well pack their suitcases and go pre-season and stay on it the whole time, like, because we would steamroller all the teams. But I mean, Anthony, just to kind of end it on the Kieran Tierney situation, obviously this is another rumour again. It's going to be like this all summer. With the Rodgers link, they got on really well. He took this game to another level. He got them moved to Arsenal. He played regularly. Injuries took over. I think he's missed over 90 professional games in the last 4 years, which is a really bad stat, to be honest. But there's links to him coming back on loan for the season. Is it viable in your opinion? And number 2, would you take him back? And I know that sounds mad saying, right? It sounds crazy saying this, but I mean, Greg Taylor's done a job. And I think for me, I look at Tierney, I love Kieran Tierney, but his injuries record is horrendous. So how much would he be playing for? Is it available? His wages, the loan fee, I think would be really, really big too to get him into the club, because they'll be looking to recoup most of that £25 million. And then also you take into account as well, I mean, Burnaby's still there, and then Taylor will be second choice. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. There's a lot of negative points to it as well. But I love Kieran Tierney. What's your opinion on it? Would you have the man back?
Yeah, it's a real tough one, because and it's crazy to say that's a great testament to Greg Taylor that it's a tough one, because Kieran Tierney is, but he's the superior footballer. I think we can all agree on that. But I think there is a thing with Tierney that his fitness isn't great. The thing I always say is what's in it for Celtic, and I can, for as much as it'd be great to see him in the hoops again, and he's a terrific player, Celtic daft as we know. I do think there's some times where I'm like, for all the reasons you outlined, Stephen, listen, if it happens, I'll be delighted, but if it doesn't, I'm not going to lose too much sleep over it. I have to say that there's other potential transfer deals, some of them we've already mentioned, that excite me more than the thought of Kieran Tierney coming back. And that just shows you how good a place we are in at the moment, because even this time last year you think, oh, of course you go for him, 100%, anything that can get Kieran Tierney back in the building. But I can see why Celtic would be hesitant to go for this deal as well, which just shows you the strength of the squad that we've got at the moment. But hey, listen, if he does come back, any squad is better if you've got Kieran Tierney in it. But like you say, the way it wouldn't be a permanent transfer. It would be a loan fee. It would be an expensive loan. I'm not seeing financially, or even longer term, too many benefits to it. But if it might want to be these short term things, we'll just need to wait and see. So I know I've kind of sat on the fence a wee bit there, but I'm edging towards no rather than yes at the moment.
No, I mean 100%. If you're getting, like you said, what's in it for us? If you're getting a fully fit Kieran Tierney, you're getting an excellent world-class player, in my opinion. Franny, a guy who can play at a back three to keep Taylor in that position. If Rodgers went to the 3-5-2 like he played at Leicester very early on, and also towards the latter part when he was still with the club, plenty of flexibility. He can get up and down the line. He can take a player on. We've seen him score against Manchester City in the Champions League. So he's effective. He's a fantastic player. But like Anthony, I'm erring on the side of caution this one. I think it would be too much of a risk. Injury record, and I know that's partly down to us, and I keep banging on about it, but we ruined him in terms of playing him, overplaying him, and every game he was playing from a young boy. So I look at it and be like, possibly not. And again, no, that's no disrespect to KT because he's an absolute baller on his day. Like, he really is.
Oh, no. I mean, there's no denying the guy's talent. He's an absolute top player. Top player. I mean, I think it was you and Ross, Stephen, on the group chat, and Anthony's kind of just alluded to it. For a loan deal, it kind of doesn't make sense unless it's Rodgers has maybe got something in the back burner that he knows he needs to wait a season to get, because I think even Ross, I don't think Willie had his chance to kind of say it on air, but Ross certainly said that he could understand that Taylor could be a wee bit under threat, considering as an out-and-out sort of a left-back getting the byline, he's not it's not a strong point. Playing that inverted full-back, Taylor's been fantastic. No denying that. Absolutely no denying that. So that's where Ross could maybe understand the argument where you maybe try and improve on the left-back position. So in that side, for me, Tierney is an improvement on that, but is an improvement. What's the point in only bringing him in for a season then having the same scenario next year? As I say, unless Rodgers knows the guy he wants, I can't get him to next year, or I know a guy that I can get for free in the summer. He could get in January for a free, but sign him in a free contract or something. Just get Tierney for the season. I mean, I think all the reasons you've said for Tierney no coming in make total sense. I wouldn't go as far as saying it's a backwards move, but footballing wise, does it really make sense? It's not a progressive move if it's only a loan. It's nothing like that. It's stopgapping, but for me, I'm taking him back in a heartbeat. Absolute heartbeat. All things considered, I mean, you make perfect arguments why you shouldn't really do it. Maybe go and try and get him a guy that's maybe got to be more reliable, a guy that's maybe more you can get on a permanent basis, because I don't think you're getting Tierney on a permanent basis, because I don't think he's probably want to come back straight off the bat at the first opportunity back up to Scotland. So for business and footballing point of view, I don't think it makes massive sense. But as I alluded to earlier, when it comes to like guys that read, I've never seen the guy in my life, but I want him in. There's a lot of footballing reasons why we shouldn't hate Tierney coming back, but bring him back for me. But I'm with Anthony as well. It's not one that'll be disappointed if it doesn't come off. I think
100%.
Positions.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think Greg Taylor can do a job there. Maybe it is to be improved on. We'll see. There's a lot of comments coming in that Celtic have posted that Felipe Jota is away. I still can't see this. So.
Good. I didn't need to change my screensaver just yet then.
Let me see. I still can't see it here at all, but unless they're just having this on. But nothing on my end yet. I know people are saying they've got the notification for it, but I literally can't see it anywhere. I've searched up the Celtic Twitter. I'll do it one more time before we end here just to see. Let me see. Still nothing. So effectively, we're going to have to.
Can you go onto Facebook? I know you're not on Facebook.
I don't have Facebook. Franny, will you check Facebook quickly and we'll just see here? But obviously, if it's confirmed, Anthony, they're saying on YouTube, but why would it be on YouTube?
They'll probably do it'll be a tribute video, probably. You know, like maybe like a wee highlight reel package.
I've not tweeted it, then it'll be no official. Yeah.
Hold on a wee second. Latest. No, there's nothing. Community. No. Right. So, Anthony and Franny, have you enjoyed this podcast?
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. It's a little bit shorter than Friday night's journey, but yeah, I think it's just nice to ease ourselves back into. This is our pre-season essentially as well, you know.
Yeah, no, 100% get what you're saying. Again, I'm looking. People are saying it's done. For Beats from Morano's tweeted about it. Quick thoughts on it, Franny and Alfie. Coming to yourself, Franny, first. Felipe Ayala's away. How you feeling that it's confirmed? I haven't seen it, but everyone else is saying it.
Nah, not happy. Not happy, Steve. I'll be honest, I really like the guy. Really like the guy.
If any of you got that Felipe Ayala on? Holy shit, hold on.
I've got him on Instagram.
Yep. Celtic have put up. We can confirm that Jota has joined Al Ittihad on a permanent transfer. Everyone at Celtic FC thanks Jota for his contribution to the club and wishes him good luck in his future career. Anthony, final word from you, buddy. How you feeling?
Aye, man.
Like I say, I've kind of been prepping myself for it since he scored the winning goal in the cup final, or certainly the goal that sealed it and put it beyond any doubt after Inverness had got one back. Listen, disappointed. It's obviously not for footballing reasons, and I think we're never going to see the player that he could have been had he moved to the Premier League or somewhere in Europe. I would have loved to have seen him, kind of really light it up at a major international tournament as well. But it's not going to happen now, unfortunately, for him. He is a massive Ronaldo fan, as rightly so. What a player put up there with one of the greatest footballers ever to kick a ball. But he's certainly not going to have anything like the career that his hero did now. But that's his decision to make. He leaves. Well, I suppose it's his best wishes as it possibly can be, because he's had 2 great years. He's delivered in big games. He's gave us some memorable moments. And obviously we're going to get a massive fee for Brendan to reinvest into the squad. So this is just the way the world is now, Stephen. As I say, I wish him well. I'm absolutely not going to be tuning in to see his progress on a weekly basis, because that's just not going to happen. I think I'd rather watch paint dry, to be honest. But, I'm sure he'll come back and do a few Paradise windfalls now and again. And all the best to him.
I mean, I echo that, and I wish I'd seen him longer in a Celtic shirt, but unfortunately, football is a business. Money runs football, wages run football. But until Friday, everybody, stay well and keep safe. Hail, hail.